The Drive with Tim Donnelly here on 99.9 The Fan. Joining us in studio, Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback as well. Mike, we want to talk about State. By the way, check out Pack Therapy Podcast, everywhere podcasts can be found. Myself and Mike host, and there's a lot to talk about following the Notre Dame game, so check that out. Pack Therapy Podcast, everywhere podcasts can be found, and our YouTube page. There's also a lot going on in the NFL, but I want to start with the practice squad of the Carolina Panthers. Tarik Cohen, North Carolina A&T legend, your former teammate with the Chicago Bears. He is back in the NFL. It's on the Carolina practice squad, but I mean the practice squad is much more active than it used to be as far as finding a way onto the field. How cool is it to see Tarik back in the league?
It's great. Tarik's been through a lot the past couple of years. Bun native, so right here in Raleigh. Gets to the Bears. He was drafted the year I was there, and in comes this, I think he was a 4th or 5th round pick, 5 foot, I don't know, 6, 7.
Probably listed at 6, probably somewhere.
Braces, looks like he's 18 years old, and he's got a little swag to him, a little cockiness to him. I'm like, man, this kid better be careful. And the human joystick is real. And we hid him in preseason. We gave him the ball like 2 times because we wanted to save him so they didn't know. And then the opener, we played Atlanta, and he must have touched the ball, I don't even know, 20 times. Probably had about 10 catches. Told some of my friends, pick him up in fantasy. And that was probably the best tip I ever gave because he probably won some people some fantasy that year. But, man, it's great to see him back. Like I said, been through a lot. Super talented player. I hope he still hasn't lost a step battling the injuries he has, because if so, this kid can be promoted at any time for the Panthers and make a true impact, because he has rare ability that you don't see in the NFL.
With the injuries, and I mean the heartwarming part of that story is everything he went through off the field, dealt with a lot of tragedy in his personal life. You can go read about it. There's a great article in the Players Tribune. But from a football standpoint, the injuries were like mentally brutal. And you mentioned if he hasn't lost a step, I think there's a spot for him on the Carolina Panthers. They kick return he was an all-pro as a punt returner in 2018. And kind of general, we talk about on the Pack Therapy Podcast about explosive plays. The Panthers need somebody with a little bit of juice. Like Adam Thielen is great, right? He's a veteran. He's going to catch the ball and you throw it to him. I'm not sure how many 50-plus yard touchdowns he has left. Hayden Hurst is great as a tight end. Not sure how many 50-plus touchdowns he has. Tarik Cohen is a guy where if he gets in the open field and he is the player we once knew, if he hasn't lost that step, that could be, Bryce Young's, we're both quarterbacks. We love him. The 4-yard passes that turn into 67-yard touchdowns. It's like, that's a good stat for Bryce Young.
Yeah, he's different. Being in the NFL from a speed standpoint, you're around a lot of guys. You're like, that guy's fast. There's only been, I want to say, 3 guys where I've been like, that guy's different.
Name names.
And that would be Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown, and Tarik Cohen. I mean, his speed, quickness, and agility is different. And he truly, if he gets back to, this was
there's a bunch of people right now in the
6
Triangle,
years
by
ago.
the way. You mentioned he's from here. There's a bunch of people going, yeah, I saw that on the Pop Warner field. He should have been at, I'm still mad at Carolina or whatever for not offering him a scholarship. And he ended up at A&T. But that's elite company.
I mean, this was 6 years ago. This is an Achilles and I believe a knee injury removed. But if he is resemblant of what he was, he can line up anywhere on the field, and we see what Tyreek Hill is doing. Tarik Cohen has, I won't say that speed, but he's got different speed.
We're talking with Mike Glennon, former NC State quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback here in studio on The Drive. Whenever you talk about a legal situation on air, you just keep throwing out allegedly. The reports are. I feel like when we're talking about Tarik Cohen, we're using the same if he is what he used to be.
Disclaimer.
It's the same disclaimer right at the top. Let's move on to some Bryce Young stuff. Actually, you know what? Let's move on to some young quarterback stuff, because we've seen with Rodgers going down now, Zach Wilson is stepping up. He's kind of post early struggles. We're seeing Bryce Young 2 interceptions on a very similar play his first year. How difficult is it for young quarterbacks early in their NFL career to, whether they're top picks or just early starters, Sam Howell, to deal with the adversity of, every play is not going to be perfect. If you struggle, even if you're Zach Wilson, you're still one play away from being a starting quarterback on a contender.
Yeah. When you're in college, they're kind of like, that guy has a scholarship too. And the NFL, it's like, yeah, that guy gets paid too. And he's used to being at Alabama where they are just better than everybody, except I guess Georgia.
Shots fired.
Where now everyone is that much better than even what he was playing
except
with. Except
Texas would have been the joke. Sorry, keep going.
Now, I will say, watching that game of Bryce Young, Jesse Bates, the safety for Atlanta, is my favorite safety in the NFL. Because what he does is he baits the quarterback into thinking that they call it a post safety. So his job is to take away the post. When you're in college, when you're in the NFL, you see a single high defense, you think, okay, I can't throw the post, but I can throw everything in that kind of 18 to 22-yard window.
Over the backers in front of the safeties is like –
Jesse Bates doesn't play that way. He squats, and I'm sure what Bryce is used to, they have a free safety. He's in the middle. I can throw these routes. And I saw it all the time, and I just love the way that guy plays because it makes it so hard on the quarterback. And I believe Bryce Young even said something about his depth. Mm-hmm. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
And depth is one of the hardest – when you're that far away – you're reading kind of body language, like how hard is he getting out of there? When things are kind of close up, you can read it horizontally. That's a little bit easier. But when you're trying to figure out someone's depth, I think he gave, that's the real thing when you play against Jesse Bates. So to me, that was a great answer by him. You don't want to see that happen again, but that's the true answer of, okay, that was a learning moment. When I play against a safety that plays like this, I got to be careful. And on the flip side, Jesse Bates – he's living on the edge a little because you can throw a post over his head. You're playing a guessing game with him because he doesn't always come up and play that kind of robber position. Sometimes he does get to the post. So it's like he plays the mind games with the quarterback, and on those two plays, he guessed right and got Bryce.
And just to clarify, what Bryce Young said after the game is the thing he was misjudging was the depth of the safety. And it always used to frustrate me in film when there was a question like that, how deep was the safety? When you're watching film, the coach will take the laser and literally count 5 yards. Yeah. That's 5, that's 10. He's at 12 yards. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't get to count the lines on the field there, coach. There were linemen out there. It was moving quick. So that's an optimistic view of because the problem I had was he made the mistake once and he made the exact same mistake later on. And Bryce Young is supposed to have one of those. He's alleged to have one of those LeBron James Sean McVay memories where they can remember every mistake they ever made, and if they made it in 9-year-olds during Pee Wee football, they wouldn't make it now. And he made the same mistake, a couple series apart, but it could be that he didn't really think it was a mistake. He thought he made the right read, and he was coming back to it like, I'm gonna get it this time, which is an interesting way to think about it.
Now, on the flip side, I will say, and maybe he just didn't really watch Jesse Bates because Jesse Bates came from the Bengals, and maybe he was just watching Atlanta's scheme. Yeah. He should know. I mean, and he's going to have this in his memory now because he's got a scar from it. He should know the way Jesse Bates plays. That's how, that's what it is. But fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Fool me 3 times, ain't going to fool me again. Although Whitehead got Allen 3 times. I wanted to talk with you about NC State and the game against Notre Dame and how they can turn it around against VMI. But it looks like we're fresh out of time. However, that's why we have the Pack Therapy podcast. If you want Mike's thoughts in depth on the Notre Dame NC State game, the weather delay, the offense, the defense, everything in between, go check out the Pack Therapy podcast. It can be found everywhere podcasts exist, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please like and subscribe when you're there. Mike, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tim.